Welcome, viewers, yet again. My name is Joanna Dos Santos here along with my colleague Brian Nandy, coming to you from
Yeah.
Florham Park, New Jersey. We are here to discuss a different topic today. We've noticed that a lot of our topics are really surrounding difficult situations. They are difficult topics that bring a lot of different emotions. So we figured one of the great ways to have this segment today is to really talk about joy and how do we find joy during this pandemic, or what joy have we found during this pandemic, because it's been here for months, not 2 weeks, not 4 weeks, it's been months. So I think to start off, well, we will define for you what joy means, and I will leave Brian with this question that he can define for us.
Well,
Brian?
very quickly, instead of me defining it, I'm just going to take one real quick from the Merriam-Webster definition, and their explanation to it is an emotion evoked by well-being, success, or good fortune. Um, the possessing of one's desire, delight, an expression of gaiety, a state of happiness, of facility, bliss, a source of delight.
Hmm. It just feels good when you say this.
It almost feels like Nutella,
Like what?
a scoop of Nutella.
Nutella. Viewers, you don't want to go there. This is one of our
Succulent.
favorite to go tos. I have one in my cabinet all the time, secretly hiding.
So, Joanna,
That's one of my joys.
oh,
My secret
well, that's
Nutella.
interesting. I was just going to ask you, what brings you joy?
Hmm. So I don't even know where to begin.
I
So
guess
I
specifically to
think
this time, right? In this
with this
pandemic,
time,
notice.
okay.
Yeah.
So I think once the pandemic started, one of my joys, or what I found joyful, was we spent a lot of times outdoors, because I think that was one of the things that we were prevented from, right? Not socializing. So what else can we do but socialize? So we decided, my husband, I, and our daughter, to hike. We've done hiking before, but I think now it has become almost like a hobby, something that we just enjoy to do. And we find different trails, different locations. And I think 7 months later, one of the beautiful joys that I have experienced, and I posted it on my, I believe, Facebook page, is the fall season. The leaves, the colors, the smells, the sounds are almost like the ability to tune into your senses. So for me, hiking has become a big part of our routine now. We try to do it weekly, and if it's not weekly, we want to make sure that it's there every other week. And it just kind of comes, it's not planned, it just comes into our schedules. I would probably say, and I don't say this often, because as a therapist, we try to be a certain way too, but to tune into my real side, and I don't think a lot of people know this, I sing in my car really loud. So sometimes I scroll down my window, sometimes not, and I just sing, and my voice is, I say it's extremely beautiful. So I just close the windows.
I love it.
um, so singing to whatever song comes on. Driving brings me joy, peace. I think with our revolving or constant schedules, because we can be so busy, driving alone is extremely peaceful to me. I can be content, I can be happy, observant, mindful. What am I thinking? What am I seeing? So I do find joy in that. Um, I would probably say planning. I think naturally I have always been a planner. So I still enjoy the planning, and that does bring me joy, form of security and calmness, and gratitude. I think since March, I have learned to be more grateful for the things I have. And I think that goes with the experience of losing things, not necessarily through death, but the loss of this independence, this loss of needing to be confined to these places and do things differently. So it gave us all a sense of loss because we couldn't go to work. So for me, my joy came through also with the experience of anxiety, dealing with anxiety in a very productive way. We started the YouTube channel. We do this on a weekly basis. This has become such a commitment to us, and we enjoy this. We actually get so excited as we plan. Sometimes not even much planning. We just kind of go with the flow and sit. And this is kind of like our way of enjoying the day even more so. I
Because it
started a
taps into the spontaneity component of us.
Yeah,
Complements
yeah.
to the planner in us.
Yes. I started a podcast and I enjoy that part. Um, which if I go back pre-COVID, I was never, at least I did not touch this within myself where I was a public speaker or someone that likes to talk to the audience. So I think through COVID, that part of me came out. So I call it the extroverted side of me that came out. And I enjoy that part too. So no matter what I do now is, I think the biggest part out of all the things that I just named is probably the gratitude. I enjoy each part of what I do. If I experience lows, I just acknowledge it and move forward. I've always considered myself someone who is more positive. So I look at things in a more positive way. Things do happen, we do experience things, and we will continue to experience things. But for me, to move forward, to be able to grow from it, is to really find gratitude in it. So that way it allows me to move forward. Of course, there's other things that still bring me joy, but because of our time, I figured I would now you ask you, Brian, what is it that you found joyful during this pandemic?
Yeah, what has I found that have brought me joy is a return in a sense of a resuscitation or a renewal of things that had already brought me joy, but I've not been able to exercise or practice it as much as I would have liked to. Um, Things like painting and crafting, creating art, and then sharing that with friends and people around me.
And you're a very creative person, so
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Something I've done in that sharing to move from my individualistic sense of joy and to spread the joy, so to speak, is that I enjoy gardening. I've got beautiful white hydrangeas in my
Mm,
backyard, and I've made arrangements and I've given them to my neighbors. I just drop them off, neighbors whom I don't know, just wishing them perfect health and just wanting to spread the joy, bringing flowers to my doctor's office appointment. So it moves a little bit in the, from my own experience of joy to the communal experience of joy. Um,
mhm.
I've returned to writing more postcards to family and friends, to some clients as well, but there's a joy in creating my own
Yeah,
postcard.
it still has the
Don't just
creative
like
side.
wherever I am at, I'm like, oh my God, I need to do something right now. So let me just turn this piece of cardboard into
Yeah,
a
yeah.
message.
I've
Uh,
gotten those from you before, and the fact that you can create something from paper is amazing, right? Versus needing to buy things.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I believe that everybody and everything deserves a second chance.
Hmm.
In upcycling stuff and give it new meaning. And this is very
Hmm.
symbolic and representative of who we are as well.
Hmm.
I've enjoyed just beautiful conversations with my mom and moments of joy with my pets, which actually is my kid. You know,
Pets,
watching
we love them.
sunsets. Huh?
I said pets, we love them. Is that what
Oh,
you said?
they're such mood
Yeah.
stabilizers, and they dogs, they're just like ever happy to see you, full of joy. Every single time it's like the first time they see you, they miss you so much, and you can't help but be
Yes. They're
infused,
never upset at you. They're never upset.
right? Watching sunsets have always been my thing, but I've noticed in Facebook and all that a lot of people posting sunsets, and that has just been my vicarious experience of joy through people's sharing. I think that sense of individualistic joy that now has become a communal joy. And I think that
Because we are spending so much time outdoors, I think, because of all this. So it has really connected us with the nature, this pandemic.
and I think from the perspective of using Zoom and all that for exercises, I find a meditative joy from a repetition of movement. And for me, I would say capoeira, which is a Afro-Brazilian
Mm-hmm.
martial art, because it feels a bit like dancing and break dancing, and there's a communal feel and a really lightness to it. So
And
those
just
are
like you mentioned the dancing, because you enjoyed the part of dancing
and now we have
in the
no
younger
nightclubs.
days. And we talked about it, viewers, last week in our segment on Myers-Briggs. Brian talks about dancing. So you are enjoying the part of capoeira is like almost a part of dancing. Yeah. Hmm.
Yes, yes. And so those, besides, many other things that spark joy, I just remember, just to let you know, my name Nandi in Sanskrit means the provider of joy. But I
Oh.
just said that, it just came to mind.
But
Um,
hmm.
so yeah, those are the five things, I think, five or six things that bring me joy.
Hmm. Do you feel like some of your joys have changed from where they were before COVID to now?
I think I have a greater awareness of what brings me joy.
Hmm.
The finer things in life, I think I've just learned to observe that
Hmm.
there's so many, and I think it comes from a place of gratitude. So gratitude sparks joy at the same time. I just had a client who made a donation to a fund, an LGBT fund, and had sent me a note that it was done in honor of me or BNC. I just felt so humbled and honored. And
Yeah.
and that gratitude, it was a kind of
Yeah.
combination of appreciation, which was so unifying in emotion, and an expansion. I was just elated and elevated
Such
from that.
happiness, right? It just wants to make it just makes you want to do more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that way we can enjoy more.
Joanna, what do you think? Now, it's getting darker now, and we're moving into the winter, the colder, and
Mm.
it may create a sense of a return to a quarantine, a sense of quarantine, right? So, Newman, what do you think are some of the ways that, our listeners or even ourselves as practitioners could begin to plan or consider of ways of
Hmm. Hmm.
deliberately
I think that's a
experiencing?
good question, right? Because when COVID happened in March, it was still somewhat cold, but we knew the weather was going to get nicer. So we knew we were hungry for the outdoors. I think that's what I'm going to say. So with winter, I think our senses are almost heightened more so because we're thinking, oh God, we're going to be indoors. We're going to be indoors more. We can't go do a lot of things. We can't travel a lot, or we can't travel to particular places. I'm thinking beaches and sand. I love those. So now it's how can we still enjoy the outdoors in the wintertime? So one of the things that I tell my clients and for my clients, for us, is we as a family, we used to enjoy, this isn't in our younger days, is snowboarding. So the joy of, yes, viewers, I have snowboarded before. However, as we age, and because we don't do it so often, our bones respond to it. But we figured, my husband and I were talking about, can we enjoy snow? How can we enjoy snow? I know for myself, I'm not necessarily one that enjoys um, cold, freezing weather. You will probably see me wearing like two, even in my office, my clients see me bundled up with sweaters and scarves, even though it's warm. So I think based on like the question that you're saying is how can we prepare? The weather is getting colder. Today, for example, depending where you live, we've had rain where we are. It's been raining all day. And I've noticed for me is how quickly I am tired. I went to work feeling tired and exhausted. And I've noticed because the temperature dropped by 15-ish degrees. So, and now I became more aware of, okay, what is this winter doing to us? What will it do to us? Will we be tired? Yes. Will we be cold? Most likely. Will we be limited from some of the things that we have enjoyed during the summer? Most likely. But I think there is things that we can still do or at least add or change. Can we go in our backyard? I've Googled things just to have knowledge, for kids. And for those of us who have backyards, build a maze, leaves, snow. I've heard of parents using food coloring so they can put on snow to make different colors. Why not? Hiking? I don't know. I think that will be my first experience of, going hiking in winter, or if it's snowing, or when snow is on the ground. I don't know if there's hiking trails that are closed. So I don't know this. I will learn this. So I know I will be utilizing that. You're drinking tea. I'm assuming because you're a tea person, is cold weather, I think naturally can make us feel somewhat depressed, right? So just to kind of shift from that is the ability to enjoy things indoors, fireplace, electric or not. Hot cocoa. I'm a hot cocoa person, probably more so since my daughter was born. So what else I'm thinking we can do? There's many things we can do to enjoy, to form new memories. Just because it's winter, it doesn't mean that we have to be prevented from doing things. We can do things alone. We can do it with our partners and families. I think time will also tell.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, I think there needs to be, a deliberateness in what we do. Like during this time of stress, right? Stressful times of the politics and racial conflict, and the idea of returning back to work, and the anxieties that come from that, and
Oh yeah.
overall uncertainty, and having to adapt in very drastic ways. Just as we sometimes when people are responding in messages and what they think, there's a very deliberate intent, whether it's from a place of insult or very hard opinion. I think we can use that same modality, a very intended and deliberate sense or consciousness to praise, to a deliberate praise or rejoicing of an experience,
Mm-hmm.
a deliberate sharing of like what I say, flowers in my backyard, a deliberate self-appreciation, when we are not feeling good. Because once the mind gets into its rumination, it's very hard. It's hard.
It will stay in there. Yeah.
So I think there needs to be a deliberate practice of self-appreciation, a deliberate practice of smiling, right? Right, the nasal labia, right? When we smile, it goes up with their nerves that get up to our prefrontal lobe that kind of says, "Oh, something good must be happening." I think like a deliberate reminiscence of good times. Those good memories and good experiences are there to reignite our joy. We have no problem remembering and ruminating on some of the bad experience. So why not be deliberate about some of our good memories? How about sharing memories with those who we love about times that we've had? And I think there needs to be a deliberate sense of letting go, because our mind's going to constantly refill itself with stuff that goes on every day, and then
because the brain naturally has a tendency to go there. I think we have a tendency to hold more of the hurtful emotions than we do of the happy ones.
Yeah, and to your two more things I was thinking about. Like I have a to-do list, right? But instead of just to-do list, I add the word joyful to do.
Oh,
happy to do.
Yes.
I'll take a picture of it.
Yes.
This is an example. Meaningful to do. So it just doesn't feel like a heavy task. And I think during this time, when we think our mind has maybe a bias towards thinking about big things that bring us joy, but maybe we can just consider like the 20-80% Pareto principle. What can I do from a perspective of 20% that will bring me an 80% experience of joy?
I like that.
Like a simple facial washing of my face, and just an appreciation of how wonderful that I have eyesight, how wonderful that I have an experience today to be able to speak with some really, really resilient people, through work, right? That inspire me every day and remind me that there are good people in the world and good in this world. Just moments of joy. And how can we spark joy? Because it's a moving target, right? I mean, we want to be happy, and something happens, we're like, but then we've got to be deliberate again in bringing in. And I think a simple resonance of just thinking to induce that feeling, because it's not just going to show up, we've got to induce it.
And I think,
And
like you said earlier, right, is that when a mind goes, it spirals, it can stay there. However, the part of experiencing joy, it is something that sometimes we have to work in order to get there. If the current situation or the first few minutes is something that's not bringing us joy, then shift your or reshift your focus, reevaluate what should I do next. I know we're talking about some of the things that we do that bring us joy, but sometimes it's also what we do not do. And as you were talking, I kept on thinking about taking a nap or staying in bed extra 5 minutes for those of us who wake up always on time or early, is those things can too be joyful. It doesn't
interesting
necessarily
you
mean.
should say that, because when I was trying to decide what were the 5 things that bring me joy,
Yeah.
being able to sleep in
Yeah.
and not driving to work has been one of my
Ooh,
joys.
yes, yes. Some of the benefits of telehealth.
So as we
Yes.
end, right, I'm wondering, listeners, perhaps you two could share what brings you joy and what are some of
Yes.
your suggestions during the winter, that can inspire.
Yes, what are you looking forward to during the winter months? You will be indoors more. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're going to be stepping out. Maybe some of you are more of winter animals that you like to be more outdoors. And share that with us. Share with us some of your experiences or what it is that you're looking forward to. And if not outdoors, what is it that you are thinking of doing indoors? Um, so share it with us so that way we have some ideas too, and that can be helpful to us and our clients, our individuals that are listening to these recordings.
Yes, wonderful.
Brian, thank you
Thank
so much for having this yet again recording. Viewers, thank you so much for watching us. As we always say, we are here on our weekly recorded Zoom webinars. For you all, our topics range and they are different all the time. We are welcome to your topics, to what is it that you would like to hear, discuss. Please, if you watch this entire webinar, please subscribe to our channel, leave comments and share. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Wishing you all joy.